Salt Lake City, putting curves in a long straight road. There's a shoulder and the sky looks pretty. Stop a while and stretch my bones. Clouds are moving in like I've never seen them, thinking that I might get wet. Now your eyes stayed dry last night and feelings, not a tear you shed. Dry rain.
Hi, I'm Fraser Douglas, the avid tent camper. In this video, I want to present 20 tips for camping in the rain. You've probably heard a few of these tips, but I don't think you've heard all of the detail that I will present in this video.
First, you should become familiar with the typical weather patterns in your region of the country. We live in North Alabama that averages about 1 inch of rainfall every week, and this rainfall is fairly evenly spread out across the year. Every month we get 2 or 3 rainy fronts that are preceded by a few days of unseasonably warm weather and followed by a few days of unseasonably cool weather. Most of the time, the rain event is only an hour or two long and presents little inconvenience while camping, other than having to adjust to the cooler temperatures. If the front moves through at night, we enjoy the peaceful sound of rain hitting on our tent. Occasionally, a front will stall for a few days and drop several inches of rain. In April and November, it may spawn tornadoes. And during late summer, hurricanes hitting the Florida coast occasionally move inward and drop several inches of rain. These latter 3 events are usually predicted several days in advance, and inexperienced campers can easily avoid problems by postponing their trip until the weather system has passed. My second tip is to pack personal items that will help you monitor the weather and give you things to do during the rainy period. For example, we pack this Sangean radio that is both a radio and a NOAA weather radio. We also have an iPad with a weather app and a cell phone with a Wi-Fi hotspot. During the rainfall, we sometimes play dominoes and occasionally play cards, but occasionally may decide to read a book. My third tip is to monitor the weather forecast every day. This screenshot shows a large weather system approaching our location in North Alabama. My fourth tip is to pack plenty of warm garments. After the front passes, we typically have sunny but quite cool weather for several days. Campers should avoid all cotton garments, including blue jeans, cotton sweatshirts, cotton sweatpants, and cotton socks, and pack plenty of warm garments made from polyester, nylon, and wool. In addition, they'll need to pack a poncho or raincoat and a rain hat. Don't forget to pack an extra pair of shoes or two so that you'll always have a dry pair available at all times. My fifth tip is to buy a good tent. Cheap tents sold in department stores and sporting goods stores frequently leak, sometimes tear, and occasionally collapse from the stress of strong wind and rain. Good quality tents made by reputable makers, on the other hand, have strong fabrics, strong aluminum poles that can withstand moderately strong wind and heavy rainfall. For example, this is our REI Kingdom 4 that we have taken on many rainy trips. A larger tent, such as this Marmot Limestone 6, gives you some room inside to move around and play games if you need to spend a lot of time inside the tent. You should also buy a footprint for your tent or make a ground cloth that is slightly smaller than your tent's floor dimensions. If a waterproof tarp extends beyond the wall of your tent, it will catch water that drains from the side of your tent and funnel it under your tent. After putting your rain fly in place, find the Velcro strips behind each guy line loop and attach it to its respective pole. Once these Velcro strips have been attached, then use a cord to secure the guy line loop to the ground. After these guy lines have been secured to the ground, they will give your tent much more strength against storms and wind. As much as possible, leave windows and vents open so as to improve ventilation and reduce condensation. Many years ago, campers were advised not to touch the inside walls of their tent during the rain, but that advice is no longer valid. Since most tents are now made from polyester and nylon, touching the inside walls will not create leaks. My 9th tip is to set your tent up in a place that has good drainage. Ideally, your campsite will have an elevated tent pad, and you can set it up on the tent pad. Other campsites may not have a tent pad, but they have a gravel auxiliary area that offers good drainage. If neither a tent pad is available or a gravel auxiliary area, then set your tent up on the highest spot in the campsite. Before tents had floors, campers had to dig trenches around their tents to drain the rainwater. But now with bathtub floors, trenching is no longer necessary, but occasionally it is necessary in other parts of the campsite. When you need to trench, use the curved end of a crowbar. My 10th tip is to deploy a living area shelter. Many campers buy small screen rooms or canopies, but these canopies provide very little dry space on rainy days. We prefer to connect 2 or 3 tarps together to make our shelter. It provides a large protected area from both the hot sun and rain. My 11th tip is to buy the right bedding. First of all, you'll need a wool or polyester ground blanket to absorb any moisture that may get into your tent, and then buy good quality air mattresses that will not absorb water. In warmer weather, you could get by with just a few wool blankets, but in cooler weather, you'll need synthetic-filled sleeping bags rather than down-fill sleeping bags, because synthetic-filled sleeping bags will keep you warm even when they're wet, and they will dry much faster. On cooler nights, you'll need to sleep with fleece jacket, fleece pants, and several layers, including wool socks and a cap. This polyester hoodie and polyester athletic pants make great sleeping gear. My 12th tip is to plan simple meals and also eat in restaurants during rainy periods. Examples of simple meals include Kraft macaroni and cheese, canned soups and stews, grilled cheese sandwiches, and other sandwiches. Or you can head to a fast food restaurant or a nicer specialty restaurant. My 13th tip is to keep all of your tools in a tool bag in your car when not in use. If you leave your tools out in the rain, they will quickly rust and you'll have to spend a lot of time cleaning them up. My 14th tip is to also store your firewood and fire-starting materials in your car. I keep my tinder in this soft-side cooler along with my kindling and Bic lighters, and definitely want to keep it dry so that I can start a fire at any time. I also want to keep my firewood dry as well as my stove wood that I have split. My 15th tip is to stay organized. You need to make an effort to be sure that every object is replaced to its specific container. When you get in a hurry and start throwing stuff into whatever container may be available, it can easily get to the point where you can't find anything that you need when you need it, and extremely frustrating and make people want to go home. My 16th tip is to plan activities during the rainy period. For example, you can take a nap, listen to the radio, play cards, play dominoes, read a book, visit with friends, or sing songs. Some campgrounds have shelters and offer programs during rainy periods, and many campgrounds offer interesting and educational nature centers or visitor centers. If programs are not offered within the campground, you can go to local museums or living history exhibits. On one trip to Asheville, North Carolina, we took a trolley tour of the city on a rainy day. My 17th tip is never, ever bring food, candy, or snacks into the tent, and don't let children bring it into the tent. Although you will occasionally hear other campers say that they've cooked food in their tents or vestibule, or that they've brought snacks in their tent, this is a bad practice. Food in the tent will attract animal scavengers. Small scavengers such as mice, rats, and chipmunks will also attract snakes. Medium-sized scavengers such as skunks, possums, and raccoons can do a lot of damage, tearing the walls of your tent, and larger scavengers such as bears and coyotes can cause personal injury in addition to damage to your tent. My 18th tip is to dry your tent and equipment after every significant rainfall. Remove your clothing, bedding, and personal items from the tent and place them in the sun to dry. Then remove your tent from its spot and the ground cloth so that the ground under the tent and the ground cloth can dry. Follow the 30-30 rule. If the time between the flash of lightning and the crack of thunder is less than 30 seconds, then move to a substantial shelter and wait 30 minutes. If you have to pack up wet, use a microfiber towel to wipe away as much moisture as possible from your tent. When you get to your day's destination, be sure to open your tent up so that it can dry. On the last day of your trip, when you arrive home, open up your tent, tarps, tablecloths, bedding, tools, and all other equipment so that they can dry for a few days.
Well, I hope these tips give you some good ideas about how to plan your next camping trip. Remember, take more trips, travel further, visit more attractions, and save money. Go tent camping.
For more information about comfortable camping, please read my book, Basic Tent Camping. Visit my website, www.basictentcamping.com, and visit my Facebook page, Modern Tent Camping.
Sky's bright red like a bomb exploded.